Hello guys, today we're looking at Splinter Cell, the original game by Ubisoft. This brings back a lot of memories. This game, when I first actually experienced it, it was on the GameCube demo disc that had a bunch of games on it, including Beautiful Joe and a bunch of other things. Yeah, there's something very classic about this game. And I remember just messing around the demo in this Chinese restaurant kind of area and just, figuring out, okay, who are the enemies? How do I take them out? And it was a very different approach to gameplay because this is a majority stealth game. So it's not really focused on huge explosions and fanfare and stuff like that. But really it's focusing on, methodical, slow-paced gameplay, driving the player through certain areas. And honestly, Splinter Cell just has a lot of really great atmosphere around it. And so there is, the basic story is that there's some conflict between, China and Azerbaijan. And, you just have to figure out the conspiracy and, discover what the governments are up to and basically, secure peace in the world, etc. All that kind of good stuff. And so, the way you do that as a semi-realistic agent is that basically you have this, black sneaking suit that you sneak around, and you have equipped your night vision and your heat sink goggles. And so this is kind of the first, iteration. So it's definitely a little bit rough around the edges, but it still has a lot of soul and a lot of, it's just made very well. And also they try to be very straight and serious with the whole political thing. They try to treat it like it's a real political struggle and system and whatnot. And so they handle it in a manner that's very, I guess, becoming of they have these fake BBC news reports essentially where people get on and they talk about, the fake political tensions. And it feels like a very real, very boring interview with real delegates and all that kind of stuff. And so, the basic gameplay, so you play as Sam Fisher, this U.S. Special Forces agent, and you're going around the world taking out, certain characters and, interrogating guys and doing all that spy stuff. This is probably, honestly, this franchise is the best stealth game I've ever played. I mean, there's also Thief. People always said that Metal Gear Solid was a stealth game, but it's really, really not, frankly. In my opinion, it might start off as a stealth game and for like a couple hours of the first gameplay, but then by the time you get your assault rifle, you're pretty much like good to go. And there's just a lot of crazy stuff that just happens. Even though there's the option to stealth the entire game and never got caught, I don't know how many players have actually done that on their natural playthrough. But yeah, the main mechanic of Splinter Cell is you basically use the shadows to your advantage, and light is essentially your enemy. And so you have to weigh each situation essentially where what's really cool about this game is that you can shoot out the lights and it'll automatically update, the lighting and everything. However, if the lights go out, of course, the guards will be notified and they'll start patrolling the area much more heavily. So again, this game really, prioritizes sneaking around, being stealthy. Of course, you can take out the guards by, using your silenced pistol and getting headshots, but then you'd have to hide the body as well. And so, they have all the basic stealth mechanics in this kind of game. Again, I'm really impressed by the lighting in this game and just how, dynamically it functions, how when you do take out a light source, it'll automatically change, and then you'll be able to make a path for yourself depending on how many lights you take out. Of course, besides sneaking, the other thing you can do is go up to behind guys and interrogate them. You can put them in a chokehold essentially and then knock them out once you've gotten the information from them. And each level is laid out, linearly, so there's multiple pathways to go sometimes in a certain level, but they kind of always end up in the same place where you have to find a certain objective or, a certain thing off to the side, like, a certain, computer or piece of information. Again, this game tries to play things very realistically, and that's not only on its tone, but also how, a lot of things functions. Explosives and gunfire, you'll see the muzzle flash, but not really a huge impact on the enemy. This isn't Call of Duty. You're not getting a bunch of points and whatever. And so for a lot of the things you fire and shoot, it feels like you're not really sure when the enemy is killed until they fall over. It's really funny that I really don't have a lot of memories of this game. I remember it like very distinctly in that demo level, but everything else that I played through this game just was kind of a blur, and I don't really remember much of it, unlike some other Splinter Cell games. But this really was going to be the basic standard that would be created for the series. Actually, as I said that, there's one level in this game that is very, very iconic, which is the bathhouses. And in that segment, basically, Sam, because his night vision is going to be totally clouded and totally useless, which you've been using for most of the game, you need to use kind of heat vision in this one segment. And I think it's a really cool segment and area, because essentially what you have to do is use heat vision to navigate through the steam bath and see the heat signatures through the steam. And what's also very cool is they even have automatic turrets in this area, and you have to basically know how to navigate around, the kind of very cumbersome, odd way, so you don't fall into the turrets' range of fire. Something I also love about the turrets in this game is that it gives you, the basic options to either disable it or disable the IFF, so you can turn the turrets against, the other soldiers and the guys in the environment, which is a lot of fun. Another main tool that Sam will use throughout his journey is the lockpick, and there's a little lockpick mini game similar to like Skyrim or Oblivion or something, where you're able to open up a bunch of locked doors. Really, a lot of this game is waiting in a corridor and waiting patiently for guards to finish their patrol route. In terms of the Splinter Cell franchise, I guess this is definitely worth getting into. It's definitely not broken or anything. It's just a little bit old, I guess, but it still has that basic formula that Splinter Cell is stuck with all these years. Again, it's interesting what this game throws at you. There's certain scenarios where you need to know how to walk along the wall exactly so you don't knock over any vases, and then alert the guards. And again, a lot of this is knowing when to sneak, when to run, when to walk, and when to crouch. And a lot of it's just crouch walking around the place. Very kind of stealthily and very slow and methodically, really. That's kind of what all this game entirely is. There are also some certain places where the lighting is very impressive. That it has this kind of cinematic, ray effect. And for the graphical limitations of a game that came out this early and at this time frame, it's actually very impressive what they've pulled off. But again, the main thing is the stealth combat and the intrigue, and you don't get a ton of weapons. You basically get a normal standard service pistol that has a silencer on it, so you can take out guys with headshots, or you can, eventually get a assault rifle, which you can use to equip with different attachments, shockers, and electric things, and tranquilizer darts, and other things that help you make your way through the environment. Of course, this game also works in the old school Splinter Cell fashion, so if you get 3 alarms from the guards, the mission ends basically, and you need to start over. So it is very, heavily emphasized that you save at certain points throughout the level and don't rely on the autosave, that you just kind of, track your progress appropriately and make sure you just don't get caught, really. That's the main part of this game. Again, the lighting effects and how you can disable them are just really impressive, and something that, you just don't even see in modern games anymore. I think this game also became semi-famous for a while because people were looking at essentially this one video clip of Sam shooting a fish tank, and the programming in it is really insane, where depending on where you shoot in the fish tank, the water will drain to that level. And of course, you keep shooting it, it'll explode. But if you keep shooting it at lower levels, the water will actually drain to those levels. And it's just an attention to detail that you typically don't see, and just the quality of this time frame with computers or with computer games, where you don't typically see that level of quality or detail because it's thought to be not important. Again, it's a little bit janky whatever when Sam is able to hit an enemy in the side of the head, it can knock them out. You can also interrogate enemies, but most of the time it's a lot easier to just knock them out and do it that way. And sometimes you don't even make contact with them. So it's a little bit, it just looks a little bit silly sometimes. But yeah, the rewarding part of this game is really waiting and methodically planning out your strategy and how you move through the environment and having it pay off, when you get essentially to the correct point in the level. It feels really good. And also the platforming in the game is a fun aspect as well, seeing what kind of things you can climb, how you can actually sneak into an embassy, getting around barbed wire and all that stuff. Again, there's something about this game that just makes it feel very realistic, but also very methodical. And once you memorize the guards' routes, it's just fun to kind of go around and sneak around. And again, the atmosphere and the tone of this game is very interesting. I think the soundtrack by Amon Tobin really helps it a lot. And of course, this is when you're introduced to a lot of the characters of the franchise that will become, favorites throughout, such as Grim, Lambert, and of course Sam. And his overarching, mission really to protect his daughter from, and protect America and the freedom of the world and all that good stuff. Also, the dialogue here is, very good, but it's obviously much better in the future games. But here it lays out the different kind of voices and how, the different characters interact. Again, I think it's really cool that you have multiple options in the menu. Essentially, when you get into contact with multiple things, you have to almost choose things like it's Kingdom Hearts style and through like a drop-down menu, which I think is pretty nifty. And the iconic sound of, Sam's night vision goggles going, over his head is pretty much, synonymous with this series. Like, you just hear that sound effect and you just think Splinter Cell, which is, pretty funny. Again, this game introduces things like being able to peek under doors using a little telescopic scope thing. A lot of very basic mechanics, really, that would be improved in the later games. And, in terms of stealth games, again, this is probably the best, sort of standard, I would say. And when I went to go play Metal Gear Solid, I tried to play it like this game, and it was not at all, similar. I was very confused as to exactly what was going on, and the fact that they are just very, very different games and beasts in general. Anyway, guys, with all that being said, I think I'll leave it to you to make up your mind on this game. But yeah, that is Splinter Cell by Ubisoft. All right, see ya. Bye.